So we're going to start our 6:45 lecture. It's Sufi time. Start it when it starts. So let's start with the Fatiha together. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about the veils of light. You all heard about veils of light? I was praying about the group, so we're going to be doing a very high teaching tonight, which is actually a station about purification of the veils of light. Okay, but before we do that, I always like to review a little bit, especially since we have new people. And let's just kind of get on the same track of where we're going. So the first question that I have for you, especially the older people who've been around, what was Siddhi's vision? I mean, Siddhi's gone now, he's not in the body. But, you know, he left a vision. What was Siddhi's vision? You know what it was?
Peace, mercy.
The flag, and they're flying the flag of unity in every home. That's exactly right, flying the flag. And you both said it right, I don't know. Siddhi often talked about this. This was his master vision. Because I was with him since he came to the US back in '93. And he always talked about the flag of unity flying over all the homes. So somebody tell me, what is the flag of unity? What is that?
We have no separation in our hearts.
No separation.
In our hearts.
Exactly, that's a big piece of it. No separation in the heart. What else is it? There's something, this is right, there's a specific form of no separation that he subscribed to. And this is why it's important to understand unity. Siddhi has a particular way of holding unity. I don't know if you're aware of it or not. So how did Siddhi hold the unity? What was the unity? You're all trying to reach the unity. You're walking to the, what is unity?
I mean, I could take a shot at a couple of there's unity of Allah. Allah is one. Unity is, we are trying to get as close to Allah as possible to reach a state of unity. And of course, unity amongst all people of the world. We're all brothers and sisters.
Okay, so we're all brothers and sisters, and we're all trying to reach to the one. Okay, all right, so think about this. It's important to understand this because when Sidi speaks about unity, he speaks about the reality of Allah. Okay, and this is a little different than what people often think about as Tawheed. You know, people talk about the reality of Allah or Tawheed, Tawheed meaning oneness. But if you really look at Tawheed, for those of you who know Arabic, it's Ta-Wahid. You see the Wahid in there? Tawheed is really Wahid. Wahid is not solitarily oneness, it's the one in the many. Well, you understand Wahid, right? Wahid is one of the names of God. It means oneness. There's also a name of God called Ahad. Ahad means one, solitary. God is one, separate from his creation. But Wahid is God expressing his oneness within creation. See the difference? So Wahid in Sufi work is actually considered to be a higher quality than Ahad. Okay, so when we speak of Tawheed, or oneness, we're actually speaking of Wahid, which is the one of God expressing through all aspects of existence. Okay? So when Sidi says, I want to see the flag of unity flying in every home, what I believe him to be saying is he's saying, I want to see God's ahad, his oneness, being expressed through his qualities in every home in existence, which means the flag of as-salam, peace, the flag of al-wadud, love, the flag of ar-Rahman, compassion, ar-Rahim, mercy. This is what he's talking about. He's saying, can God's oneness with his qualities be expressed in every home? Is Allah present in every home? Are people turning to Allah in every home? Is the nature of his qualities, his wahid, his tawheed, being expressed in every home? So it gives you a little different understanding of the flag of unity. So if you think about this, you take this another step. These rays that are supposed to be going out to the world to be found in every home are you. In other words, don't all of you carry peace? Have you all worked very hard to find peace in your lives? Have you all not worked very hard to find rahmah, find compassion, rahim, mercy in your life? Have you worked very hard to become Abdullah, the slave of God? Right? I mean, you're working very hard. You are all expressions of this. So really what he's saying is that in a certain level, you're all supposed to be bringing these qualities out to the world. Where? To where it doesn't exist. Where doesn't it exist? Well, places like prisons. Places like people's homes where they're divorcing and fighting and struggling. Places where there's illness and disease. Places where, like Haiti, where there's all sorts of bad things going on down there. Places like that. Where is God's light needed? So Sidi's saying, if people, for example, in Haiti, were not turning to voodoo, but instead might be turning to Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, they might have a better chance for a good life. But if they turn to voodoo and the other things, then what happens? There's such darkness, that darkness eventually brings forth the wrath of God. It doesn't like it. So something happens. So you see, it's very important for us to understand that Allah's unity, Allah wants his light expressing through all of existence. He's very merciful, he's very patient, but not ultimately. And if people try to destroy his creation, then of course, then it's kind of like cancer. If cancer shows up in your body, it tries to kill you. Right? What do you have to do? You have to get rid of the cancer. Allah is the same way. If a cancer shows up, then Allah has to clean it. So Allah He guards his creation. He is the wakil. He is the guardian of his creation. He protects it. So you are his protectors. protection doesn't mean, I'm not speaking about violent protection. I'm speaking about the protection of bringing peace into a place that needs peace, bringing love into a place that needs love, bringing light into a place like the prisons where there's so much darkness. That's what I'm speaking about. It's that type of protection. That's what our work is. So on an individual level, we're supposed to be becoming these things. On a collective level, we're supposed to be helping support Allah's reality of peace, love, mercy, justice, freedom, and all the 99 names coming into creation and being established on earth so that there can be peace. Okay? And that's the nature of what this path is really about. It's about reaching that. Okay? So many people, they start the path and they try to do the right actions, but if you look really deeply, many times, they're really working still for themselves. In other words, Allah does not only want you working for yourself. You're not only supposed to be trying to reach God yourself, you have to be in service to creation. There has to be a deep servitude to creation. Now you can serve in any way. You can serve through being a doctor, you can serve through hitting a tennis ball. It doesn't take a lot to serve. It all depends on what you do. If you hit the tennis ball to be better than everybody and to beat them, then you're showing aggression. If you hit the tennis ball because you're doing it to teach love and peace and to bring unity and oneness, then you've brought something powerfully good to the planet. It's all about intention. How are you intending that work you're doing? So Sufism is about intention. It's about finding the intention. Okay. So this is, I believe, to be Siddhi's vision, and I think we are the inheritors of his vision. And our seed is gone, but his vision stays. His light's still here. We saw it so easily. It came right through the video. It's still very tangible. It's not hard to find it. And it's certainly there in spirit if you want it. But the vision, that's really the question. This is where you have to really look inside yourself and ask yourself, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? What are you using your life for? This is the question you really have to ask yourself. You should be asking yourselves. What are you using your life for? And maybe everybody take a moment and ask yourself that question. What are you using your life for? Now, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ spoke about this a lot. He always said that there has to be a pull in life. There has to be a leader, a pull. It has a very interesting understanding, which means that whatever you do in life, there has to be a point or a place it emanates from and to. Now, you could call that the heart. What's the heart of a thing? But if you look deeply, what's the pull of your life? Okay, in other words, if you really look, what are you focusing on? What's your number one focus? The pull of your life, because everything has a pull. Your life has a pull. Okay, now, what's the pull of your life? Now, for example, I remember back when that film was filmed 20 years ago, there was this young guy, he came out from Oakland, and he came up to our community, and I said to him, this very question I asked you, I said, what's the pull of your life? He said, I don't have a pull, I don't need a pull, I don't want a pull. And I said, oh, all right, he's a pull-less pull. And then I was wondering in my heart, I was thinking to myself, what does Allah do when the pull disappears? There's no point to life anymore. Like there's no pull, there's no purpose in life. And I was thinking about it, and I had this very strong sense that I needed to give him the bayat, the initiation. And I should have done it, and he was so adamant that he just didn't care that I thought, okay, I should just honor his free will. He doesn't want, he doesn't want. Okay. So he left the community, he drove up to Oregon to pick up his girlfriend. They were driving back down from Oregon. He fell asleep at the wheel, crossed over on 5, and went into a semi, and 2 weeks later he was dead. So it was a really interesting story because it really taught me something about life. You know, what is life about? Life is about purpose. Whether you realize it or not, there's a purpose. There has to be purpose to life. Now, Allah has answered purpose for us. He's answered the question of what our pull is. He said, this is in the Quran, He says, I've created you to know me. I've created you to know me. Okay? That has to be the #1 purpose of your life. If you become Sufi, or you're thinking of Sufi path, this knowledge of God means knowledge of the names of God, the reality of God, and the decrees that God has brought into existence. Okay, that's what it means to know God. So what are the decrees? Well, we've heard this, we've heard this earlier today. The decrees are what God has defined as His actions. His actions mean, what does God want you to do? For example, God does not want you to backbite. God does not want you to slander. God does not want you to hurt other people's hearts. Okay, those are decrees. Those are the decrees of His actions. But the decrees of actions are not enough for a human being, because Allah wants much more than the decrees of action. This is like kindergarten. To learn the actions is the first step of being a human being. The true reality of a human being is related to their heart. The truth of the heart is, are you a good person? Not just that your actions, what if your actions are good and you're a bad person? Are you a good person? Do you have love in your heart? Do you have kindness in your heart? Do you seek for the goodness of all people? Do you have gentleness in your being? Do you have mercy, compassion in your being? Do you have holiness inside of you? This is what defines a human being. It's not just your actions, but it's the definition of your heart. And most people forget about that. They forget that the heart precedes everything. Your actions can be perfect and your heart can be imperfect. Right? You can be doing everything right and your heart is doing everything wrong. Right? We've seen people that give charity. Why are they giving charity? Not because they care, because they want to get to heaven, they want to look good in other people's eyes, they want a tax write-off. They're giving charity for some reason, but it's not from Allah or why Allah wants it. You have to understand that, because Allah understands it. If you give charity because part of you wants to help and part of you wants a tax write-off, you get the positive benefit for what you wanted to help, and you get the negative benefit for what, I'm not saying tax write-offs are negative, but I'm saying that where you're not coming from God's love and harmony, there's very little benefit. In other words, the tax write-off is fine for you as a human being, but it's not going to help you with your spirituality. Okay? So this walking of the heart and the understanding of the heart is the key to the Sufi path. Sufi path has essentially 3 levels to it. One level is this action level, which is knowing what God wants and learning that. But this is almost textbook things. You can get this in a book, and you can learn to follow this in a book. So from this place of the book, you don't backbite, you don't slander, you don't do things like that, right? Very important to learn that. Step 1. I call that elementary school. Yeah, sorry if that's insulting. But it's the first part of learning to be Sufi, is learning the Sharia, learning right action, learning those things. Because without it, you're going to fall down. I can tell you as a healer and a teacher, if you're backbiting out there, you're never going to reach the unity. If you're slandering people, you will never reach the unity. If you're not full of love in your heart, you will never come close to God. God will not let you close if you don't have those things in there. So it's very important to have those pieces, or those pieces inside yourself. So first part is this part. Okay? But the second part, more difficult than this part, is this part here, the heart. And the heart is really about purification of your being. Now, you might, on the outside, have very little. Like your practice might be falling apart and you're out of money, you know, everything is not working. And on the inside, you might be doing really well. You see, so you might be surprised that the outside is not always a reflection of the inside. Sometimes the law constricts you so that you can learn to accept the constriction, and when he sees that you're patient and you're kind and you're trusting with your constriction, then he lifts you up and then he gives you abundance. But first he wants to see if you can really trust when you don't have something. You see, so Allah is a very wily creature in a sense of very intelligent, you know, he's always like the master. You know, I was reading about the master chess players, you know, how most people play chess, how many move, I mean, when I play chess, I'm not a master, I think about one move ahead. So if you play against me, you're very easy to beat. Okay, you think 5? You're amazing. Okay, and if you read about, who's the guy that, remember that old, who was that Russian who was so good? What was it? Yeah, it was a while back. But they asked him how many moves ahead he was thinking. He was the world master at the time. 12 moves ahead. 12 moves ahead he was thinking on his creation of his... How many moves ahead do you think that Allah thinks? I'm sure it's more than 12. I'm certain it's more than 12. So it's Allah is speaking, Allah is watching your being, and he's creating this master chessboard for one purpose, really, is to help you to know him. That's what he's doing. He's trying to create situations for you to know him, to experience these natures of salam. Allah wants you to experience peace. How is he going to chessboard you into peace? Well, it's not by just putting you in a nice, peaceful meadow. I mean, that might be one stage of it, right? Puts you in the meadow, and he sees if you're in peace. But then he's going to up the ante a little bit. Then he's going to put you on the subway and see what you do on there, you know. And then he's going to put you further. I remember Franklin Covey, the guy who used to do all that stuff. He was telling a story. I love the story, so I'll tell it to you. He was on the subway. And he came on the subway, and there was a man, he was with 5 or 6 children, and they were just out of control. The kids were screaming, and the man was doing nothing. And it was just one of these situations, it was in London, of course, and he was getting more and more angry about how the man was treating those people. And finally, Franklin Covey goes to the man, he says, "Excuse me, sir," with a lot of anger. He said, "Excuse me, sir, can you not take care of your kids? And can you control them? And what kind of father are you?" You know, and he was standing up for himself, and he was speaking his truth, and he was being authentic from his heart. But you see, in the Sufism, we would have looked at it differently. We would have said, is there something else going on here? What's the inner secret? What's the inner reality of what's going on with this family? What does this family need? So it's not just about following our hearts. There's something deeper. What's going on? The man turned and looked at Franklin Covey. He said, "I'm so sorry." He started crying. He said, "We were just coming from the hospital. My wife just died of cancer." He said, "I can't control them. We're losing it. I'm out of control. They're out of control. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to go on. Our lives are a wreck, and we don't know where to go." And Franklin Covey said, in that moment, it's like everything came into clarity for him, and he realized that he was seeing the world through a way that wasn't right. And that the way to see the world was through understanding that there were hidden, deeper reasons that existence revealed itself. And he needed to look from that lens, not from the lens of judgment and the lens of himself anymore. And it was a pivotal moment in his life. I love that story, because as Sufis, that's us. That's our job. We're here to be like that. We have to look every situation, not from the eye of judgment, not from the eye of selfishness, not from the eye of what I don't get and they didn't give me, and he's too noisy and the kids, but look deep. What's really going on here? Because as a Sufi, you can know.